Hey everyone, today we bring you an inspiring speech by Ritesh Agarwal, founder of OYO Rooms, at BML Munjal University's convocation. He reminded students that education is just the start. It's what you do with it that counts. Step out, dream big, and turn challenges into opportunities. India is full of potential. Go out and be the inspiration. Let's dive in and learn together.
I'm sure we are all cognizant that we are blessed to be a part of this golden age of this country. India is going through an economic, a social, a cultural leadership process in the world stage. And when the story of all of this will be written 15 or 20 years later, the people who would have created this story will be all of us. So sometimes I think it's important to take a step back of all those last minute preparations and examinations, the excitement of graduation, and remember the big opportunity all of us have been bestowed with. Given this is such a big opportunity, I felt I could share some of the small learnings I have had in my short career by means of stories for all of you. Each one of you will create your own stories in the future and will end up talking about it many years from now. But I hope some of you will relate to the stories that I talk about now and probably use in your life journeys as you get started for them. So, as all of you know, I started my company 5.5 years back, and today we run the largest hotel chain in India, the top 10 hotel chains in China, and of course continuing to make more impact worldwide. But that didn't start very easy. In my short experience, I learned one very important thing. Life presents you with two opportunities or two options at all points of times, not four, A, B, C, D, like Kaun Baneya Crorepati, just two. Either a risk or, on the other hand, regret. I have learned always that whenever life presents you with either of these opportunities, taking a risk is always better than regretting not taking that risk many years from now. So what I want to talk about today is why risking it is better than being regretful about it in the long term. The first story that I want to talk about is that going after what you really, really want to do. You know, all of us are in our 20s. All of you are in your early 20s, which means that you have very limited liabilities in life. You don't have a husband or a wife waiting for you back home. You don't have kids whom you have to leave for school. Nowadays, admissions are hard in schools. I can tell you that by my colleagues. You don't have any of those pains. All you have is the ability to dream and go out and make an impact. So next few years, you'd see some of your friends getting better CTCs, but if you really enjoy doing something else, it's okay to let that be and not be the top CTC candidate. You will see some of your friends taking world trips on your Facebook account, and then you would feel, I'm having to work 16 hours a day because of my passion. You'd have a lot of these sacrificial feelings every week. Remember, in the long term, it will all be worth it. Right after my 11th grade actually, I had the opportunity of being so ambitious about entrepreneurship. I used to read about entrepreneurs every day. There were two companies I was very inspired by. I was inspired by Royal Enfield and I was inspired by Indigo Airlines. So I used to take weekend trains from Kota to Delhi to come and listen to those entrepreneurs. Most of the people around me said, on weekends life is so good and you end up going every weekend to listen to entrepreneurs whom we don't even know about. Then I lived in a Barsati for a year in Delhi and worked from there to build really, really small businesses. Most of them, pretty insignificant. We do more business in like one street, in any street of India, than what would be my highest business at that point of time. Those sacrifices were all worth it because I genuinely wanted to make a difference around myself. Which means that if each one of us have an ambition, or we learn what we have an ambition about, it's okay to sacrifice the usual excitements in life for the next few years to do what you want to do. Which means it is okay to take a risk versus being regretful of not doing what you wanted to do. And 30 years later, being at a bar and telling your friends, you see this friend of mine who's done so well in his life, I could have also been like him if I had taken a risk. You don't want to be regretful like that. You want to be the person on the photo who's being talked about. The second one is living a very happy and ambitious life, but with a lot of discipline. And sorry, this one will sound slightly boring in comparison. And this is your graduation day, so I don't want to be preaching you this. But right after I decided that I want to be an entrepreneur, I used to read online on TechCrunch, Economic Times, and so on about entrepreneurs. And I felt what an easy thing it would be. You just choose a good idea, and if you're intelligent enough, it should just become successful. I was up for a reality check. When you show up for meetings 10 minutes late, people judge you. When you're not prepared before a conversation, people would judge you. And that would happen literally every hour of the day for 365 days multiplied by the years. That is the struggle that we would all go through before we start something really, really successful. All this period requires you to put significant amount of discipline. I'm very lucky to have 11 core CXOs in the company in India, and of course 5 more in China. These are people who come from Ivy Leagues, who've been the top guys at BCG, McKinsey, and so on, partnering with me. So every Monday morning, we all meet together and we discuss about what's going on in business, what are the challenges, opportunities, and so on. I start preparing on Sunday morning to make sure that next day, when I go and talk about the areas of opportunity, the areas that are challenges, and so on, I can continue earning the respect of all my colleagues to make sure that they continue to believe that I'm the right person to lead the company. That is just 1% of the amount of discipline and hard work that we would all have to go through in our lives if we believe there is a big outcome at the end of the day. Which means that long term, there is that risk of making sure that weekends, those evenings, you could have had a better time. I'm not asking you to stop them. You should have a great time. But when you're working, put in all the effort and discipline that you can behind it. So you don't have to regret later that in my early years, I could have worked harder and I could have been the best person in the field that I started working on. The third one is something slightly more interesting. Travel as much as you can. I know parents are here. A lot of parents would say that, abhi naukri lag gayi, to 2 saal baad gaadi, 5 saal baad ghar to lena hi chahiye. If in this period of time, you can save a little and spend on travel, वो 5 साल का 6 साल अगर हो जाता है, it won't hurt. Sorry parents. I would genuinely hope it's in 5 years. But that travel will be worth it. I have learned whatever I have learned in my short life by means of traveling across the world. I was born and brought up in the Odisha-Andhra Pradesh border in a place where 80% population is below poverty line. So for me, that was all the place that I knew about. The first time I came to Kota, I felt that the world was much broader. When I came to Delhi, the world became even larger. And then for 3 months, every day, I stayed in a new bed and breakfast, new hotel, and so on. which got me thinking that this is so exciting. World over, every hotel chain is 100 rooms or larger. 100 कमरे के होटल चेन्स होते हैं, उससे बड़े होते हैं. But worldwide, 95% of the hotels are 100 rooms or smaller. So I felt, why is nobody opening a hotel chain which is 100 rooms and smaller? Because there are so many of them. Then I felt there could be either of two reasons. One, this is an idea that so many people have tried and failed, and I'm probably the 1000th guy doing it. Or second, this is something that nobody's seen, and probably I'm the first guy seeing it, so I should go do it immediately. As an entrepreneur, you're designed to be an optimist. You always see the positive in anything around you. So I saw the positive that at most I'm going to fail. And if I fail, it's okay. I'm still young and I have very little liabilities in life. That came about because for 3 months, every day I stayed in a new bed and breakfast, hotel, or so on. After that, when I started the company and I had just one hotel, I had the opportunity to be a Thiel Fellow. How many of you have heard about Peter Thiel in this room? Some people, a lot of you. You have very well globally exposed people, Mr. Munjal. So Peter started a company called PayPal. And I watched this movie called The Social Network. And in that, the guy who writes the first check to Mark Zuckerberg was Peter Thiel. So I felt how good it would be for me for some time in my life to have an opportunity to see him. Eventually, I was lucky that I was the first Asian resident to be a Thiel Fellow. Peter Thiel started PayPal and he gives $100,000 to 20 people across the world with a single view, which is that education is a lifetime experience and it does not stop at the university. It only starts here. When I was there, for the first time in California, I saw how big and ambitious people were. Here, I was always told by my father that if you are able to earn more salary than I am, you have done very well in your life. But there, people were thinking about how do I make the lives of millions and billions of people across the world better. There were people thinking about innovation and how do you create new things that makes a difference in people's lives. All of these things that I learned inspired me to say, even if we are building the company here in Gurgaon, it doesn't mean that we can't dream to build the world's largest hotel chain. And that's what, of course, got us to open China last year. And we started the big ride from being India's largest hotel company to hopefully by 2022-23, the world's largest hotel company. But the point I'm trying to make is all of these learnings, ye ambition, ye learning, the mistakes that you make, all of this comes because you see the world in a different view than just one city or one place. So whenever you get an opportunity to travel, from the smallest villages in India to the biggest cities in the world, kabhi bhi mauka mile, please take that hands down, even if that means that you might miss an important meeting or so on. I know all of you guys are bright enough to manage some of them. But the amount of learnings that travel brings is incredible. The fourth one, this is something that is very dear to me personally. Surrounding yourself with incredible people. So I had started OYO, came back to India, and we were trying to grow the company. We had one hotel in 2014 और 5 महीने तक वो एक ही होटल चल रही थी. I was working very hard every day, but nothing was moving. And here's what I was working hard at. As an entrepreneur, you're designed to try and control everything, right? You try to say that I want everything perfect, so I will control it. So I used to try and do the same. So I used to pick up phones at the call center. I used to write accounts on Tally and so on. So one of our initial investors, Bejul Somaya from Lightspeed. Lightspeed is also an investor in Snapchat. So he invites me to have lunch with him every month. So I went to have lunch with him. And our office is in Sona Road, was in Sona Road at that point of time. And right beside that was Haldiram's. So the best food I used to have was Haldiram's. So for me, the reason why this lunch used to be great is that Bejul's office is in a fancy hotel, so he used to always treat me to great lunches. So for me, meeting him was of course important, but more important was a great lunch. So he fed me with good food. After the feeding was done, after the food was done, he asked me, Ritesh, I hear that you've been spending a lot of time on call center and speaking to customers. I said, absolutely, I love doing that. I can do it all my life. He said, that's perfect. So we now have the head of call center of OYO. Let us now recruit the CEO. And I, of course, got the message saying it is my job to bring in solid leaders and entrepreneurs in the company who can build the company one level ahead of me so that OYO outgrows one individual and becomes an institution with strong leaders. It is hard because you have to give away always. But at the same time, you need to make sure that you bring people smarter than you, people who are going to challenge you, people who are going to be honest with you. So one of the earliest people who then joined was Abhinav. Abhinav was, one of the best guys at Harvard Business School, was principal of BCG, before that ran the largest factory for ITC in India. And he came in and partnered me. And in 1 year, and that 1 year was fabulous, we grew from 1 hotel to 1,000 hotels. That was the biggest growth our company has seen till date in its history. Just because Abhinav came, thank you. Kavi came, Ayush came, Srirang came. So there's a large group of people, all very, very established, but they all believed in the mission that we were going after, that a common man can also expect a good quality living space. I believe in all of your lives, you will always have options of surrounding yourself with people who can help you get better in life. They will be smarter than you, hence will challenge you to think better. Versus you will have people who will take you behind in life. There will be people who will make you feel that you're the smartest person in the room. Always choose to be with the former people around yourself, because you're always the average of the 10 people around you. Your average will only improve if the people around you are smarter and brighter than you. So always strive to get better people around yourselves. That will ensure that you grow faster in life. Well, I will skip the next point and go to the last one. The next point I'll just summarize. What I meant to say is always strive for excellence. Never be okay by being number 2. And it doesn't mean number 1 in academics only. You can choose what direction or what segment you want to be number 1 in. You might want to be the smartest, number 1 martial arts guy. I met one of them here. You might be the best over there. Well done. You might be very good in academics. You might be very good in speaking. You might be very good in sports. It doesn't matter what you choose to be. You might be the best for family. You might be the best father in your entire generation. It's okay. But whatever you choose to be, please always try to strive for excellence. Because when you strive for excellence, the amount of happiness that gives you is incredible. Personally for me, 2 years after building OYO, a lot of people told me that, Ritesh, you've built a company with 1,000 hotels already. Why don't you sell the company or a part of your company, take some money and have a happier life? And then I went back and I thought, when I'm 40 years old or 50 years old, what will make me happy? Will I be happy of building something where you land at any part of the world, any city, town, across the world, and you walk out of the railway station or the airport and you see an OYO signage and point to that and say, I built this company? Or would I be happy if I was the person who made some money earlier in my life? The answer was straightforward. I'm much happier being the former, who did something impactful in my life, rather than the person who had more money with myself. That is the strive for excellence that I request all of you to have, because that will make sure that you're always proud of the risks you took. versus being regretful of the things that you left on the table. I will end it with just one thing. All of us will get opportunities in our life, special opportunities. But whenever you get them, you should absolutely go for it and you should be prepared for it. For many years, I continued to strive hard for building the company, and there were 2 or 3 times I got great opportunities. Probably 4. I took them 2 or 3 times, and I still regret that I did not take that one time that I could have. For example, our company had, at 3 years back, we were a small company, but we already had 200 crores on the balance sheet. We had sales of close to 1,000 crores. That's when a person called Nikesh Arora calls us and says, I want to see you. Nikesh used to be head of SoftBank at that point of time. So I went to meet him, and he wanted to invest 600 more crores in the company. So I felt we don't need this capital, and diluting my ownership now will not be the most intelligent business decision to make. But then, internally, all of the management met, and I thought to myself that people like Nikesh, and more importantly, somebody like Sonsan, who have built such large, impactful companies like SoftBank, if I get the opportunity to have them on a roster of shareholders, and I have the opportunity to meet them, because in lieu of that, I can dream to make a much bigger company than I could have thought earlier. So even if economically not the best decision, we still chose to have SoftBank as a shareholder. And I look back and I feel one of the best decisions I made. So when presented with an opportunity, thank you. When presented with an opportunity, always be ready to take it. Never take 2 steps behind saying, I don't know whether I can do it, whether I cannot do it, whether I can deliver or not deliver. You should have the self-confidence and belief in yourself, and make sure that you go after the big ambition, by means of which many years from now, when you are hopefully in the same room with your children graduating, you can look at them and be very proud that you risked it versus regretting it. With that, thank you so much for having me over, and do well in your lives.